Hi everybody, Mirza Mujic here from Mujic Consulting. Today we have with us Filipe Carrera. Filipe Carrera is an international speaker, author, trainer and coach. He's also a professor in digital marketing at the Technical University of Lisbon in Portugal. And he has had several leadership positions in voluntary organizations such as Junior Chamber International and also in business life. So today we're going to talk about leadership, digital marketing as well. Thank you for attending this interview, Filipe.
Thank you for inviting me.
So could you tell us a little bit about what you work with at your own company, Filipe Carrera?
Well, my work is mainly in three areas. I'm a trainer, I'm a professor at several universities across Europe and Ecuador, and I also do some consulting. On the spare time, I write some books. So this is my activity, and my company is a very small one because I work with everybody is outside the company, so I'm the only one inside my company. Well, I have a cleaning lady that comes every Tuesday. Well, now it's Mondays, and that is it. That is my core business. And the content that I deliver is about networking, communication, marketing, collaborative work, and everything connected with social and how the social networks are changing the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we learn, and the way we position ourselves in the market. So that's, in a nutshell, my work.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about leadership, and you have had several leadership positions in your career so far. Could you tell us about your leadership role, what your role has been as a leader in your company, and as well in business and corporate life?
Well, I've been leading teams and organizations in different aspects, and one of the things is that I'm not normally a leader that stays a long time. I'm a kickoff leader. So normally I kick off, and when it reach cruise level, I say, well, another one to pilot pilot it, because that's actually the thing that I do better is do the kickoff. It's more challenging and more interesting. The day-to-day, I'm afraid to say that I'm not very enthusiastic about it, but I help leaders that have to deal with the day-to-day because I know the difficulties of it, because I've done it before.
But what do you think is leadership for you?
Leadership is to serve the people that you lead. And normally people think about leadership and have this envision that leading is like having a lot of people behind you and you show the path and that's it. I have another view. Leadership for me is to help others to excel themselves. That is leadership.
You've had some leadership positions. Could you tell us a little bit about how you have been leading as a leader in this kind of positions?
Well, normally I'm a kind of democratic leader, so I always like to have input from my team. But I have also the idea that you cannot be absolutely democratic, meaning like this, that you are always waiting for another input. You have to define timelines, and you have to be prepared at some point to put a decision on a suggestion on the table and go for it, because sometimes your team will have different views, different roles, and if you wait and wait and wait, that's a problem.
Okay, would you say there is some difference in terms of leading in a, let's say, startup company, or compared to leading in a medium-sized or a larger company, based on your experience?
There is a big difference, because in a startup, everything is very horizontal. There is no almost hierarchy. Everybody knows each other, and there is like a kind of merge between personal and professional life that is very, very common. So many of the startups start with a group of friends or people that know well each other, and so it's very difficult to establish a hierarchy. While in a big organization or in a medium organization, there is like a hierarchy, and personal and professional lives are separate issues because people are not they don't start as friends.
I see. As a leader, what is important for you?
As a leader, what is important for me is to keep creating challenges to people that they manage to accomplish, that they are able to accomplish. They should be ambitious, but they shouldn't be impossible. Many times I see that leaders like to put impossible tasks because that way people will excel themselves, but at the end they will excel themselves but be frustrated because they don't reach the target.
I see. You've mentioned a little bit about how you would say you should lead a team of people. Do you have some example you could mention?
I think one of the things that is very important is that people should be in a team while they have the ability or they are learning something. And many times I say to people that are like in a job and they don't know if they should be still in the job or not, and I say, are you still learning something? And if they say yes, I say, well, maybe you should stay. If they say no, it is time to go. So when you are a team leader, you should keep this in mind, and also give the opportunity to people to learn other things, okay, and be really, really good at it.
What kind of characteristics should a leader have in our organization?
Well, active listening is a very important one. And that's why, for instance, I see a lot of leaders that forget this. And active listening is not listening only with your ears, but also the non-verbal expressions of people. So many times I see some meetings of teams and people are with open computers and things like that, and they are watching the screens and not watching the person in front, and they are not getting the message that is coming across, that sometimes is different than the one that they are hearing. So active listening is really, really important, and having the ability and the time to give to people to be heard.
I see. What would you say really characterize the leaders that makes it in today's organizations?
I think the thing that is not making them is they are very defensive nowadays. I find in many organizations that, especially the big ones, that leaders are defensive. So they don't take decisions. What is strange, because by definition, a leader is the one that takes decision, the ultimate decision, and he's responsible for it. So it is decision making is it is absolutely paramount in order to be a leader nowadays.
I see. But what about kind of tools you can use as a leader? Did you use some kind of tools when you were a leader?
No, the thing is that I think communication tools are very important. Now we live in a world that we can communicate in so many ways. So you are in Norway, I'm in Portugal, and we are here having a talk. And we have to use these kind of tools more and more, because there is like a kind of dictatorship of email. Okay, so and these kind of tools give us the possibility of doing the non-verbal communication that email doesn't, or instant messaging or something like that. So you have to be very wise with communication tools. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use email. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use instant messaging. The thing is that you have to pick from the communication menu what adapts to each moment and to each person, and that is to be a wise leader in the 21st century.
Let's go to the communications. Communications is a very important part of being a leader. So my question is, what a leadership position, in your leadership positions, how have you cooperated with your team and communicated?
Well, like I was saying before, the thing is that you should communicate with people the way that they are much more activated, and also when it's important to use this tool. It might be face-to-face, it might be by a phone call, might be by email, might be by Skype or something like this. But you have to choose the right way for the right person. It is a demanding exercise, because everybody is activated in some different way. So there are people that are very comfortable with this kind of communication that we are doing now, and there are people that prefer the face-to-face, and so you have to be careful. I try to reduce let's say one rule of thumb. I try to reduce as much as possible email communication.
How, as a leader, how have you communicated with your team members based on your experience as a leader and now as an entrepreneur?
I think the key word in terms of communicating with a team is empathy. You should try as much as possible to be empathic with your team members, because it is the way of making a true connection, and this has been around for many years. This is the way that humans communicate, is when they get this empathy, they communicate much better, and they engage, and they establish a compromise, for instance, to reach the goals that you want them to reach.
What do you think is the most challenging thing with communication in companies and as a leader?
I would say to find the exact way to communicate with each person, because it's not only a question of the mean, it's also the experience that people have in life or professionally. So normally when we communicate with somebody, before we start, let's say we take a profile picture of that person, and we think, well, if this person looks like this and dresses like this and talks like this, it is very similar to this person that I met before, and that I think it's an idiot, or I think it's brilliant. So this is a problem that we have, and because many times when we even open our mouth, we start from -1 or +1, and we don't know exactly.
We know that conflicts are a very important part of life and work life. So I assume a lot of us have experienced conflicts in our career so far. So I assume that you also have experienced some kind of conflicts during your career.
Yeah, and many times I say that the source of conflict, if you start looking to the source of conflict in organizations, there is an email in the middle. So it's something that people don't talk, and I see that for instance in companies, I'm always beating this problem of the email, because I think that is like the invisible enemy of organizations. Because think about this. not only the conflicts start on email, but people do emails having this in mind. We all will end up in court. And court meaning real court, law, okay? Or the boss has to decide who is right, who is wrong, the stakeholders, the owner of the company, or my colleagues. So people are working in many companies and they don't even realize this, that they are working in creating a dossier, a folder of evidences. I was not the guilty person. So, and this is awful, this is terrible, because you are not working for trying to get a solution, you are working to, okay, as you can see, on the 21st of March, I wrote this email asking this. I only got an answer on the 23rd, and then I send another one, and this is like absolutely amazing. And when people come to me and say, you see, it was not my fault, and sometimes I have to say, but if you saw that this was happening, why the hell you didn't pick the phone? Oh, because I wanted to have proof that I was. So you want to do it, or you want to have proof that you were trying?
But how do you handle conflicts? Do you have any advice for people that experience conflict? How could they handle the conflicts that make them embrace and be in a positive outcome of it?
Well, there is one thing that I learned from my children is that, and sometimes conflicts inside organizations are very childish, is that they are very close in age. They are 2 years apart, and one of the things is that they come to me and say, "Oh, he started. No, he started." And if you try to understand who really started, you will understand that the one that is complaining now, he's right for that precise moment, but he forgets to say that there was other stuff. So the worst way of dealing with a conflict is to try to be the court, okay, and say, okay, so let's see who is right. No, you have to focus in overcoming that and basically ignoring who is the right one and the wrong one, because they will come with their pile of evidences showing that one said this and another said that, and it will be like this. So, and you will not get anywhere. So focus on the solution and not on the evidences.
Let's talk about digital marketing. You're a professor in digital marketing, and you're also teaching about this to companies, as I understand.
Yes, yes, yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about digital marketing first?
Well, I started working with the digital world back in '97, so I will do 20 years of digital work next year. And the thing is that what I have been helping is companies, because I'm an economist, so I'm not a IT guy. So I'm helping companies to work to embrace the digital era, let's say, and to change everything in the company in order to embrace that. So I'm talking about how they communicate, how the HR is, the talent is developed inside the companies. I'm talking about of how they position in the market. Even the way they work, that is something that is still very difficult, because people are still working like there is no cloud, there is no internet, there is no other digital means, and sometimes they even forbid to use that. That is very interesting.
What about leadership? What is important for leaders in terms of using and sharing their knowledge by using digital marketing as a tool?
Well, the thing is that, for instance, in sharing knowledge, to give you an example, many times you have people that buy, for instance, a mobile phone, and they take advantage of, let's say, 10% of the features. Companies, for instance, they don't really work on that. Because if you go to YouTube, you will find hundreds of videos about your phone. One or two will be from the company, and it will be like promotional, new XXX and something like this, passing by, very nice images, but they really don't say, look, we have this fantastic feature. To use it, you have to do it like this, this, because these are not sexy videos. Sexy videos is like very, very nice, very nice images, fabulous captures and things like this. Having a IT guy or something like that explaining how you can take advantage of some features that are absolutely amazing for you, it's not sexy. So they don't do it. So the funny thing is that customers are doing for them, and they don't control in any way. So it's a pity that, for instance, in the marketing department, they don't see that teaching, let's say, the clients how to use their products is an amazing thing to create a great customer experience.
But how do you think leaders should use digital marketing as a tool in organizations? Yeah.
Well, you can think about both ways, outside and inside. For instance, there are a lot of companies that inside, as their internal communication, they use digital marketing tools, using, for instance, video to present the goals for the next year, to present, to, for instance, to do some managing crisis. So if you have a problem in the company, most CEOs, what they would do, they will send an email to everybody saying, well, this is the problem, and we are going to solve it like this and this and this. And that doesn't create engagement with your audience, that is your employees. So more and more companies are embracing using a video for this. So you have a problem, you say, okay, I have to talk with my employees. So I will present myself and say, look, this is the problem, and we are going to fix it like this and this and this. And this is much more engaging. So this, let's say, internal marketing is not very well developed, unfortunately, because it's only thought outside. But nowadays, if a company has 1,000 employees, they have 1,000 PRs. So we have to be careful with that.
Yes, before we finish up this interesting talk, do you have anything else you want to add on?
Well, I hope that some of the things that we talk help people to understand that organizations and leadership has to change because of these new digital tools and digital opportunities. Because we cannot continue to be leaders like we were. Because we will have to lead teams that are across the world, and many times we will not know personally the people that we are leading. So we will have to lead through emails, through video conference, through telephone, and that will be our team. And leadership will not be like, my team is in this room. My team is spread across the world, and this is the new leadership.
Yes, thank you very much for this nice interview. I hope that viewers and audience really liked the message we were discussing. And if you have any kind of comments for us, you can just put a comment below this video.